center, government of Telangana's incubation center. So it needs a lot of energy. But this building, it doesn't need any energy from outside service providers because it can produce its own energy. So as an architect, you are capable to do all these, right? Different types of buildings. Maybe it's a stadium, it's a mall, it is a multiplex, commercial complexes, hospitals, hotels. So a range of buildings that we do. And what is so unique about this career is architect is like it's involves both your left brain and your right brain. Every time people say that you have two brains, the left and the right. So one is the creative and cognitive brain, and the other is the logic and the calculative brain, the scientific brain. In architecture, architecture is one career where you use both the brains. Right? So it's about building materials, understanding construction technologies, right? Even construction equipment productivity. So if you are going to cast a slab, you have to tell your client, okay, how much time it will take, isn't it? So productivity of construction equipment, so many things that as an architect you do. So it's like you are jack of so many things, all right? And see the variety that is there in architecture. I just actually Googled for doodles of different types of architecture, and this is not limited to what I'm showing here. There are so many other types of buildings, all right? So all over the world, because of the cultural differences, because of the, what do you say, the knowledge there, right? So there are so many types of architecture that are there prevailing all over the world. And the image that I have put up here is one of the earliest architects, Vitruvius. Okay, so he is explaining Roman king, right? He's showing actually his perspective drawing here, like how the building would be. Okay, so it is one picture, maybe something that happened 5,000 years back. All right, he's explaining to the king how the building would look like, and architect, the first architect, Vitruvian. All right. So Vitruvius, he wrote something about architecture. So he wrote 10 books of architecture, and his main philosophy is that architecture, there are three principles for architecture. The first one is firmitas. Firmitas is a building has to be very strong, all right? Strong enough to remain in good condition and do the service that the building is intended for. So if it is a library, it should be there to work as a good library, right? If it is a stadium, it has to be able to do whatever that has to happen in a stadium, right? Then utilitas, a building should be suitable for the purpose for which it is used. And then venestas, a building should be aesthetically pleasing. So as an architect, these are the three principles that we need to follow, and it has been there from ages: firmitas, utilitas, and venestas. All right. I just collected pictures of buildings from each century. All right. So this is what we have been doing as architect, and different kinds of buildings from different places, all right, and from different centuries. All right. So this is what we have been doing as an architect. This is what is architecture. All right. So complex structures, so huge structures we have been doing. See the kind of buildings that we have been doing as an architect. And these are buildings that I have collected which have changed architecture. Okay, they had a profound effect on architecture, and they changed the way architecture is. All right, so this is the world's first skyscraper, 1885, right? Okay, more than 150 years back. All right. Then this building, Cincinnati Towers, reinforced concrete. First time they used reinforced concrete. While this building, the first building is a masonry building. Then the Zeiler building, right? One of the world's tallest buildings. All right. See, this building is a stadium and it has a retractable roof. You can actually open the roof. Hmm? Then we have Buckminster Fuller's geodesic dome, all right, and this famous Sydney Opera House, right? Everyone will easily recognize the Sydney Opera House, designed by John Woodson. Hmm? So now the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, right? So complex structures and so beautiful structures, and every building is serving its purpose, isn't it? So for whatever they have been designed. So this is what architecture is, like a building which is, as Vitruvius said, formitas, strong, utilitas, serve the purpose, and venestus, beautiful, look beautiful. All right? So, and this building, the 2014 building, this is one of a technically very important building, because that is a 3D printed building. All right. So we robots were used. Okay, robotic technology was used to build that, and after from 2014 to 2022, there has been a lot of progress in this area, 3D printing of buildings. Now, uh, I think 6 months back, even in India, Tatsva, a startup company in Chennai, IIT Madras, they printed a 3D home in India also. Okay, so one of the fastest emerging technologies in construction. So architect has a big role in that, isn't it? So, and this is what we have done to buildings. Okay, so the height of the buildings, right? So now the Burj Khalifa, which is more than 800 meters, and now we are planning to design a building, construct a building which is 1 kilometer, right? 1,000 meters. So this is what is architecture. That is what we do. And what is the scope for an architect? Where do we have uh, place to work? Right? There's so many sectors that we give our services. Okay, public sector. India's oldest is CPWD, Central Public Works Department, established by Britishers and still going very strong, which which actually overlooks a lot of construction by public sector, the government agencies, CPWD. So they have their own wing architects. So a lot of architects work in CPWD. Then all the urban development authorities, whether it is Hyderabad Metro Development Authority or the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation or Mumbai Urban Development Authority, every urban development authority, they have architects. They have roles for architects. Recently, is a two-tier city like Warangal, they published their master plan 2040. All right. So what Warangal wants to be by 2040, right? So who was instrumental in that? Architects, planners, right? Many other consultants also, but main role is for planners and then architects. So in master plans also, right? Defense sector, military engineering services, they themselves have so many buildings that they require in different places in India, all over India. So they also engage architects. They have short service commission where architects work, and they have permanent services also where architects work. All right? And the private sector, so many architectural consultancy services, MNCs also working in India. All right. Then many freelancers working. Okay. So, and many of the architects, they definitely would like to start up their own firm. Right? And now there is new vistas for architects, entertainment industry, gaming, VFX, film set designing, then interior designing, all right, then huge construction contracting companies, right? Many other careers like freelancing, architectural journalism, all over the world and everywhere we need someone to talk about architecture, right? Write about architecture. So architecture journalism, then architectural tourism, School of Architecture, Hyderabad and Visakhapatnam, Geetham, we take our students on architectural tours, North India, South India, international. So we have a professional group of architects who conduct these tours. They are architects. So they design the tools for students of architecture, and they also design tools for professional architects also. So architectural tourism and many other creative opportunities. All right. And definitely teaching is one challenging career that is opening up in the last few years. There has been a great boom in architectural education in India because the government wants architects, all right, for the kind of infrastructure that India is going to develop in the next 25 years, the Amrut Kal, all right. So there is a lot of scope for architectural teaching also, okay. So one thing very, very important is you have to understand that architecture is a professional career. So as it is a professional career, it is regulated by an agency, Council of Architecture. So your profession, your education, everything is regulated by Council of Architecture. You are answerable to Council of Architecture. Whatever the work that you do, you are answerable to Council of Architecture. All right. So when you say it is a profession, so it's little different from everything else. It's not a business. All right. So here you need training, specialized training. You have to have special competencies. You have to learn something special. And then you should have abilities, special abilities. All right. And experience also is very, very important. So all these are very, very special to a professional career. And for architecture, it is still more because I told you, the left brain is also very, very important. All right. So creative. So what do you learn in architecture? So there are something called core and then something called programs, okay, electives. All right. So basic thing is any architectural student, anyone who wants to become an architect, they have to learn what is design, architecture design. Then most important skill for an architect is the drawing, because that is the language with which an architect talks to everyone else, right? Then definitely for everyone, history is very, very important, right? You have to know what your history is, your topic, right? Then building construction, building materials, building services. There are so many services that get into a building: electrical, water supplies, plumbing, sanitation, HVAC, right? Then security, networking, so many services that are in a building. With all those services, the building become efficient, more efficient. Okay? So you have to know that. And a lot of very specific subjects for built environment, that is climatology, acoustics, lighting, ventilation, all right. And green buildings is one area where all the world is looking after, right? Because buildings consume maximum energy that is produced. So we want buildings to be more efficient, all right, so that we lessen the burden of energy on the world, all right. Then the open spaces between the buildings, within the buildings, right? And now buildings are becoming intelligent. They themselves can respond, all right. And then conservation, we want to conserve our heritage. Buildings are our heritage, and how we conserve them, that is also very, very important. Then we have urban design and many more, all right. So it seems like more than 60 subjects are there for an architecture student to learn. And what do you should have to learn, get into architecture? One most important thing is this is not a career or a course that you can take by chance. All right, it has to be your choice. So motivation and dedication are very, very important. Then definitely artistic and creative skills. You should have some sense of proportions, color, and all that. Aesthetics. We train you also. In the next 5 years, we will be training you. You should be very good at human relations. All right. So because you are a team person, you are working with so many consultants, vendors, contractors, skilled people, unskilled people. So you should be a very good person, right? And definitely every project is a new challenge. So you should be a keen researcher. You should be ready to do research, all right, ready to learn at every point of time, all right. And then definitely should have a very good presentation skills, writing skills, so that whatever your idea is there, you are working on, you should be able to send that idea, a strong message to the other persons, right? So you should have a good presentation skills. You should be good in working as a team, because architecture is a teamwork and a very strong willpower, because this is a profession which is regulated. All right, so you should be very, very strong. And basically, everyone will ask, okay, what is the difference between architect and a civil engineer, or what is the difference between architecture and civil engineering? All right, so architecture is a profession of designing buildings, while civil engineering is a engineering subject where they are concerned about the stability of whatever construction they are doing, whether it is a building, whether it is a highway, whether it is a dam, whether it is a irrigation channel, whether it is a road. All right. So civil engineering concerns are little different. All right. While architecture is looking at the design of the buildings. Okay. So aesthetics and functionality are core for our design. For them, the stability is very, very core, very, very important for them. Okay. And then they are not competing professions. All right. They are complementing professions. As an architect, you need a civil engineer. As a civil engineer, and if he has to work in the building sector, then he should know an architect. All right. So they are complementing to each other. They are not competing, and the civil engineer and architect has different roles. All right. They are not at all similar. Okay. So how do you select a institute to study architecture? Okay, so it's very, very important, because as I told you, you need some special skills, right? You need some special training. You need some special knowledge, right? So you have to select a right institution which can provide you all this. Okay, so first and basic is Council of Architecture. It regulates. So the institution has to be permitted by Council of Architecture. That is the first and simple and basic thing that you can look. And after that, look at the infrastructure that they have. Infrastructure, the hardware and the software. Hardware is the buildings, okay, the design studios, the workshops, the classrooms, right? And the software is the teachers. All right. So what is the capability of the teacher? What is the experience of the teacher? All right. And then whether the institution is capable of delivering the content, right? So what is the content that the institution is delivering, the syllabus that the institution is following, the way the content is delivered is also important. And then it's not just all this, but definitely you have to look at an institution which gives scope for everyone, isn't it? For a 360-degree orientation of the student. All right, student, the whole 5 years, it's not just classroom education, isn't it? So the student has to be a 360 oriented person. His personality development, leadership development, right? Skilling his talents, right? And giving platform for his talents, right? So any institution which has this scope would definitely be one good institution to learn architecture. Okay, so all the best for your future, and thank you everyone. And if you have any questions, we will wait till Architect Suman completes his presentation, and we will take the questions. Thank you, Stigna and Suman. Please carry. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for an excellent and inspiring introduction to architecture as a career. A very detailed description has been given. And now it's time to introduce our today's presenter for today's webinar, Architect Suman Paul. So I will be describing you about today's presenter. Architect Suman Paul holds a Bachelor in Architecture degree from RVCE College of Architecture in Bangalore University. He has spent a long spell of career in corporate architectural practice in W.S. Atkins, Jurong Consultants, and CPG Corp. He has also worked very closely with many international designers, both in India and Singapore. He was also a studio head in CNT Architects, Bangalore. So, and also From 2018, he is the co-founder of Rainmaker Studio and he was partner at DKP Architects also, Bangalore, India. So from 2014, Sir has also attended many guest lectures, design reviews, mentoring students and workshops at RVCA College of Architecture, BMS Yelanke, Dayanand Sagar of College of Architecture, Geetam College of Architecture, Hyderabad, and SVCA, Hyderabad. And from 2020, Sir has also been associated as Urban Design Faculty at RVCA College of Architecture, Design Faculty at BMS College of Architecture, Thesis Mentor at KSSA College of Architecture, and at present, Sir is a visiting faculty at CEPT University, Ahmedabad. So, Sir's expertise is anything related to space making. His interest lies in architecture, spirituality, pranic healing, and bicycling. I invite architect Suman Paul to talk about his journey as architect, educator, and we will get exposure to all his projects. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Snigdha. Thank you, Sunil. Thanks everyone for joining. Let me share the screen. Can you please let me share my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think we should make Suman sir also as co-host. Then only he can share.
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope everyone can see my screen, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. So we are here today to discuss about successful career in architecture. Thank you for calling me for this program, and it's a good initiative. I think not only for the aspiring students who are just getting into the domain of architecture, but it's good to reflect on ourselves also time to time, so just to keep us alive. So I just kept my today's session very, very open-ended, because architecture is all about that. You can't have a very closed loop at any given point of time. So we are fortunate to see this view from our studio every day. So, and from here we are just pondering about successful career. So the question comes here is, what is success? And it's a question which can be dealt at many different levels. At the level of aspiring students who wants to join architecture, who are studying already, who have studied already, practicing and trying to do something else. So it's a question for everyone. Thank you, Snigdha, for the introduction. So I'll not get into detail of that. But as an audience, you must know your presenter well. So I thought of just putting a chronology into the whole perspective. So I graduated in 2002 from RV College, and immediately I joined WS Atkins, which is known as Atkins Global now, and then subsequently Jurong Consultants and CPG Corporation of Singapore up till 2008. So that was the phase when I was practicing in a very big organizational setup globally. Because Atkins is very, very big. It has presence in almost every continent, every country. Jurong is from Southeast Asia, which is pretty big. CPG is a collaboration between two firms, one from Australia, one from Singapore. So they are also a global player in the architectural field. So these three organizations kind of shaped my understanding about how to understand larger scale of the domain and how to go about that. So that kind of set a sort of discipline in my mind. And whatever I had done henceforth has been guided by that framework. And I'm very, very grateful for that. So the kind of exposure I got over there, kind of opportunity, really great. And in 2008, I was reflecting on myself to shape up the future, just like everyone does, time to time. And I realized that I have seen the corporate architectural domain quite a bit now, and it's time for me to focus on a hardcore design, because that's a core area which I would like to focus throughout the career. So I got an opportunity to collaborate and practice at CNT Architects, which is the oldest architectural practice in Bangalore and extremely well renowned across the country for its ethics of work, the quality of work, and the kind of institutional quality it induces in every architect's in making. So it has played a very, very significant role in many, many professionals throughout last almost 55 years. So it was a great opportunity for me to be there for almost more than 10 years. And I had learned a great deal of architecture there. It changed my perspective about many, many finer things in life. And it brought in the foreground of many, many issues which were lingering at the back of my mind, but I was seeking for a certain amount of clarity. And that collaboration gave me that opportunity to rephrase that and put things in perspective. So, so 10 years was a good amount of time if we zoom out and look at it. But when I was into that zone, it never felt that. It just felt I joined there yesterday. So in 2018, it felt like there is no end for learning in architecture, but there has to be a new beginning at some point in time. So I banked on my understanding of larger scale architectural handling and a very finer level of aspects from CNT and other organizations where I have worked for in the last 16 years. And I started a different path, a different trajectory. So I collaborated with two of my friends and formed DKP Architects. And parallelly, along with my wife and my co-founder of Rainmaker Studio, she's also an architect. So we started the Rainmaker Studio, which is the prime focus at the moment now. And in all these years, almost a little more than 20 years now, I have been involved doing all kind of possible typologies in architectural domain. I'm just yet to do an airport. Perhaps that would be interesting to do at some point of time. Otherwise, yes, all different kind of scales and different varieties of projects. I was very, very fortunate to touch upon all of these. So that gave me a very well-rounded vision or a kind of a progressive mindset into the whole field of architecture. So Rainmaker Studio we call as RMS in short, and Rainmaker Studio has three wings basically. So it has media, which is headed by my wife, which deals with all kind of short films, advertisement, branding, filmmaking, shooting, interviews, product. Is essentially architectural design, but I term that as a design in general so that it covers a larger field of design, which encompasses many other things apart from architecture. And we have Foundation, which is a non-profit organization within the umbrella of Rainmaker Studio, which is a philanthropic venture of our studio where we do a lot of socially relevant projects through design and through media. So that is what presently we are involved in, and all of you are most welcome to Rainmaker Studio, whichever way it is. So this is our logo, and we designed this logo keeping in mind that it has to have a gravity at the center, and then it rotates in a certain way where it attracts a lot of positive energy and repels a lot of negative energies, and it's quite energetic that way. So this happened as a design possibility over a cup of tea between me and my wife quite a long time ago. Uh, so so that's our practice, and essentially in architecture, practice designs projects. So that is a predominant factor. So I just look back a step, and then if the practice has to design projects, then before that, the practice has to be designed. So we constantly look at this aspect of designing the practice itself. So that's a very, very important factor in terms of taking a position in life or career, whatever, to look back at this aspect and keep questioning, is it the right thing to do, or is it the right direction to take? Because there is no definitive answer, and it keeps changing time to time. And we believe that that is how it should be. If we keep it locked, then probably we'll miss out on many different opportunities. So let it be open. So we design the practice in that way to cater to media design and foundation. So they are very, very broad aspects of many different things putting together, which truly makes the practice as a multidisciplinary platform. And we believe in that. It helps in terms of collaboration and gathering knowledge and opening different avenues for various reasons. So yeah, a lot of my time goes into this, boiling the beans and looking at that. And along with that, a lot of intense work happens in the studio and wherever I am. So, so I rely quite a bit on my hands, because I believe that's the best tool and the fastest machine a world can get over any kind of equipments or gadgets. At the same time, due to my professional involvement throughout different organizations, I have developed this tendency of creating a very good set of professional documentation, and I really insist on them to whoever I'm working with, and try to achieve that level. We do a lot of tactile models, and I kind of like to stay at a very sketchy level, because that gives me a lot of freedom to work on it further, rather than having a finished product and look at that and admire in awe and just stop there. But this kind of crudeness gives me a chance to work on it, and that's the background which keeps changing time to time. So that is how probably I look at designing the practice, and practice becomes a focal point of our life. And practice is the reflection of teaching. So when I go for teaching, it's synonymous of my practice. So teaching is the extension of my practice, and practice is the reflection of my teaching, because I'm constantly seeking certain things which I need to reflect on. And perhaps it's a good idea to reflect on many other minds rather than just reflect. So, and that gives a lot of pleasure. And I came up with this idea of a combined word called teaching. There is no dictionary value of this, but just for my own reference. So it's a combination of practice and teaching, and that is what I believe in. And both of them are just like the mirror image of each other. So there is actually no line in between. So having realized that this is the kind of understanding what I have, that architecture is a way of life, and kind of everything fits into that. So I've been able to sort of collapse that that line in between work and life, because I often refer to this my studio colleagues, that as an architect we do not work, we practice. And like many other only few professions which does that. So architecture is a very noble profession, and we do not work, we practice. What does that mean? That means practice gives you an opportunity to hone yourself. to become a better human being. As a result of that, whatever you produce becomes better. So architecture, we really practice and we do not work. So in that sense, in my life, there is no work. It's a practice. So I practice just like we practice something else for our own life. So there is no demarcation of that. And that kind of liberates my mind. But the question still remains, what is success? And I think we cannot avoid this question. And in order to grow at certain levels and all levels, perhaps we have to have our own army. So if yes, yes, then the question is success means a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, reading a lot of books, perhaps a couple of libraries in one lifetime. Is that success? Perhaps yes. Is success means many people flocking on you? Is that success to you? If yes, well, so be it. Is success means opulence in life in some form or the other? There's no harm in this. This is good. It looks good, feels good. So why not? So success means this also for some, in some way or the other. Or is it like becoming a star and a celebrity and saying hello to the whole world? Possible, yes. Or is it like leave everything apart and just be a yogi? Is that success in life? Perhaps yes. So these are all a very open-ended thing. Is success means growing your family and growing older with your beloved? Perhaps yes. Does success means being with the friends and do your own things at your own terms? Perhaps yes. Is success means being together and being very grounded? Yes, perhaps yes. Is success means you keep on studying and you just keep growing in that direction? If so, then so be it. Is success means the finer things in life? The luxuriousness in life? If yes, if that makes sense, then yes, of course it is. Is this success where you are rewarded by someone else and that is your validation of success? Perhaps yes. Is this success where you find a certain kind of oneness with yourself and you feel everything is within you and you don't have to search outside? If that is success for you, yes, that is success. Is this success where you want to be beautiful and look good? Yes, if that is success, yes, that is success. Is this a success where the world recognizes you for what you do? Yes, of course, it is success. Is this success where you strive for excellence and you are acknowledged for that? Is this success? Yes, of course, yes, this is success. Is this success where you achieve the highest level of honor in life? Is this success? Yes, of course it is. The extension of that, you are recognized. Yes, that is success. Of course, yes. Or do you call this as success where you be intimate with your mentor, with your guru, with your master, and learn the trick of things and you embed that in your whole being, whole life? And that is the mantra of success. If that is for you, yes, that is success. Is this success? Yes, of course. You are getting to learn the real stuff from wherever the source is. That is success. Yes, of course. So that's a question. It's ongoing seeking, and one must continue doing that. I also do that. It's good that this program is happening and I could reflect on this, which makes a lot of sense to me and it gives a lot of clarity. So the moment I was trying to put these things together, and I was realizing, yes, it's a deeper question to ask to myself. So the question remains. So now, for me, if I have to reflect on success, what is success for me? For me, success is love. Love in a broader sense. Whatever I do, if I love that, I am successful. It's my belief. You can have your own belief. That's fine. So I do all of this, even if I don't have to do also what I do, because just I love that. And that's success for me. I strive on light in the sense, the wisdom, the intelligence, the kind of the knowledge, the source of knowledge. That's success for me if I gain certain light. So for me, to gain light is to provide light, and the learning starts with sharing as a first step. So I do that. Space. It was not okay. So my eye can perceive at certain angle. That is called vision angle. Again, vision angle is very illusionary. We always been taught like this, whatever 105 degree or 90 degree, whatever it is. But what about this? Our eye is a very sophisticated lens, so it can capture. So I believe if I am acquiring certain light or knowledge or understanding, I must share that in order to spread it and make others aware of that. And if that happens, I gain more knowledge. So that's light for me. And with the help of love and light comes the power. So it's the power of doing things together, willing to collaborate with many others, the larger agencies, etc. The will to do good and the power of goodwill. So these three probably I can sum up as an underlying thought of my success: love, light, and power. And they are not in isolation. They are always in tandem, and they are always together. The arms might be changing here and there. The pyramid might get inverted or stabilized or rotated at times for different reasons. But there is a coherence between love, light, and power. And these three aspects, if I can achieve, probably I am successful. So these three are the kind of arms of my understanding of success. And everyone should have their own understanding of success. And once we pin it down, probably it becomes easier to become successful in a more meaningful way. So again, with this idea, going back to that teaching, which now truly makes sense to me even more, that practice and teaching and practicing goes hand in hand. So hence I came up with this way of everything gets into that framework. So in a very broader sense, and that helps me to improve upon every day. So I'll just quickly take you through what I have been involved in for last some time. So when the pandemic started and we were homebound almost overnight, we could not go out, we could not do anything. Luckily, the internet was available and we were connected, but you still need a physical space. So at home, we had a small room, which earlier we were using as a storeroom sort of a thing, and which were totally disorganized and non-usable. And when this situation struck us, we realized the importance of that small room, and we worked on it, and we kind of recreated that whole space in just 6 feet by 9 feet space, which is really tiny. And since we love to do a lot of things throughout the day and over time, so it had to cater to all of that. And we were looking for some kind of dynamism in that. And then we put our thoughts together, how to make it, because making also was a challenge at that point of time. So we came up with certain strategies and realized that the ideas can be implemented, and finally we did that. So this has been my home office for last 3 years or so, and whatever I did from this corner. And I made this as my movie theater also. I projected on the wall, and I made that as a theater, and we sat down there and enjoyed. So that's a small library which kind of energizes my day. And and I get some light, which is the natural light, and sort of illuminates the whole space. And from there, suddenly jumping into another scale, uh, figuring out totally different issues and challenges, and crafting many other things. That's not rain, that's construction water, curing water. So I love this noise. And this is natural and tactile. And whatever we are doing, we are part of that. And that's the scale what I'm talking about. We saw 6 by 9 feet room versus this is the scale. And it is not even captured in this frame. It's much larger than this. So continuous penduluming between that scale and this scale kind of gave me that joy of expanding my mind also. And this is in your city, Hyderabad. It's almost there. So another few months, we all can go in. That brought me some kind of recognition. I'm thankful for that. And I'm happy to be part of this in some way or the other. And, hopefully, this is the largest hospital now, and it's already making a big round of discussions among the fraternity, medical fraternity in India and abroad. So hopefully it should create some impact. So this was a socially relevant project we were doing. So in a very dense neighborhood in Bangalore, and the plot size is even smaller than you can imagine for a small house. There we had to put up a school, and we were questioning what is a school. So we realized school means it's not only study, it's half study and half play. So how do you create that in this small volume? So we created a space which has the potential to become a place by multiplying functionality. And when it was underway of the construction, they held an exhibition of students' work, the kids' work. And this is what happened. Everybody gathered, and they were shouting and jumping, and they made their own space. And I was just a spectator in awe. And they just I imagined this would happen, but they made it happen. So I'm happy. And when it is almost there, so this is what it is being used for. And I'm very glad I never met these people. I never told them this is how you should sit, but they could figure out. So in certain way, that gave me pleasure that the design thinking and designing a space has a potential to channelize the way one can use the space. So it has power. So that gives me a lot of joy and confidence. I do a lot of things like this out of just love. I can get it off this pen case sometime back with just a small leather piece, cut and folded, and just by one layer of stitching, and absolutely no other materials in that. And I'm very happy with this. And then at that point of time, I made that as my visiting card, and I insisted everyone to just take a photo of that instead of handing over my visiting card, the paper card. So some way or the other, I feel good about this. So we do a lot of meditations and pranic healing, etc. That's a very different subject, part of our foundation. So that's my wife. So she also is part of that. So we do make a lot of models, and I really love to make sketchy models. That gives me no guilt to tear it apart and rebuild, start from scratch. So I just love that. So on request, I make finished model, which looks very realistic, and people can showcase that for so and so reason, but ideally I stick to this where I can handle it and play with that. So basically, I don't make model for design purpose as such, but this becomes like a toy for me, just to look at it from different angle and play with it and just ponder that this small object will become a building in some day. So that was the model for this project, which we were dealing with for a very, very non-existent plot of a triangular shape just next to a drain, stormwater drain, and the other side is a graveyard, which has a very large tree. And we were thinking how to strategize that in a small house. And we opened up the house towards the tree. And if this tree was not there, this house would have been something else. So we actually designed for the tree, not for the people who are living in the house. So we were discussing and making these models stage by stage, and then it went on to the construction. So I love this sound, I love this noise, I love this the crudeness, the dust and mud and the dirt. So we were framing very rudimentarily and just to capture that beautiful tree, to maximize the vistas and the connection from inside to outside. So much so that we could go to the edge of the balcony and we could touch the tree, which is nowhere near to the side, but just by the virtue of grandness of the tree fall greatest height one architect can have. So from that we transformed that space to this, which is virtually quite unbelievable, but that's the reality, and that's the power of design, that's the power of architecture. And this gave me a lot of opportunity to experiment. And what I was talking about, that the crudeness of my work or thinking process, that gives me an opportunity to polish it, to hone it, to make it better and better slowly. Just like how you bake a cake in an oven, slowly it's baking and finally it comes out. So it's something of that sort. And when you see it, you are filled with a lot of joy inside you. And at sight, nobody knew how this would behave, because we never did this before. Particularly this, we were improvising, we were experimenting, and experimenting with a lot of frugality, in fact. And we believed in it. Okay, let's see what's the outcome. We are trying something new, and this is what we got. And when we got this, we knew, okay, whatever we did something right somewhere down the line. So that's a satisfaction. So again, I leave it to the crudeness of many things, which does not shout out, but just remains there as a part of the whole. And that's probably the end of the project, but that's the beginning for my next thought. Okay, I left that thought here. With this, how far can I reach? What's the next step? What can I build on it further? Because thought is a seed, and how you nurture a tree from a sapling to a grown-up tree is exactly like that. We do a lot of socially relevant projects. This is one of such at a planning level. So from a small 6 feet by 9 feet to 2 or 3,000 acres of land. So it's a huge jump. And we love that challenge. And as an architect, you will be trained for that. Your mind will be much more flexible to accept it and do it. So we did that part of Bangalore town planning, and there was an exhibition and competition, and we eventually won that. So complete revival of one very critical junction, a neck of the city, so to say, and some level of recognition, so which moves us ahead. And out of love, I do a lot of things like this. So this is my bicycling helmet, it was a white helmet, and I was looking at it, and I thought, okay, let's put some color on it. So I picked up a few sketch pens and just put them on. So this is how it is. Those holes were existing, and so the graffiti had to be within that, in and around that. And again, the model making, it is just for the growth of that whole process. Everything starts with pixels, and then it slowly and I didn't at the beginning, but wherever it takes you, and that's an experience, and that's part of the life. So yeah, when I see this every day morning, I feel good that yes, we have progressed from yesterday till today, and I look at them with a different light, light of knowledge. So we did their store there. So we were taking part in a competition which we were shortlisted globally for Bombay Gateway for a memorial. We were kind of experimenting with the co-working space in the pandemic time, and we were thinking how we can shape up certain things. We were designing a house at a foothill of Palani near Kodaikanal, and we came up with a very tight, compact design, and then we are working on various scales of projects at the moment, all kind of typologies. So this is very interesting. One day I was playing, I was working with my triangular scale, and it suddenly broke from the middle, and I was playing with that, and I realized that they are kind of sitting one above the other and not falling off. So that was quite intriguing, and I just kept that as a photograph and thinking through what can be done with that. And then I started sketching of that. So that's a figurative sketch of that. And then if you start extracting things from that, different layers, and then you start playing with that in your mind, and then you see how you can extrapolate things and where it takes you. Can that be conceived as an idea? Can it grow further and further? So we picked up that idea and a working table based on that. So we just made a structure out of that understanding and expanded that in whatever form it could be, and then started developing that in terms of its geometry and sizes, etc. We introduced the structural element to that and analyzing it, whether is it possible or not, refreshing our understanding about that, then putting a lot of real-time factors to see, and then parallelly we were developing that and continuously checking, and we were checking through physical model again. Will it actually stay or not? Is it stable or not? Because this is not done before. There's no formula to it. It's just intuition and design intuition, and it's a calling from within. So it may work, may not work until you try it out. You do not know. So we took the plunge and we tried it out. Now, at the same time, we were doing it digitally and physically, and constantly checking the pros and cons, and building it bit by bit exactly how it can be built in reality. And finally, it was there, but we were not convinced. So what we did, we actually did a load testing. We brought bricks of that scale, and we had loaded on top, and we actually tested what load factor it can take. So when that happened, we were convinced that yes, this is going to work. So then this was a final model, and then we realized we have over-designed it. So we went back to the drawing board, and then we started looking at finer details to reduce the design factors. And then finally we got the design. We printed that, we quantified that, and then we started purchasing materials. And literally 2-3 weeks, we were on the roadside footpath in the workshops, and we were getting it done. So these are our people who actually made that, and they were so enthusiastic. They took our drawing, they made their own template in metal, and through metal they sketched out the whole structure, and then they started cutting them to sizes, and then started welding them and grinding them, and showing us the level of accuracy. And also what we envisaged, and all were happening together. We were sitting on the floor, we were hand in hand, you know, day and night. We were just there, and just for the joy of making it. We could have just given the drawing and somebody would have delivered it at our doorstep, but we wanted to make it. We designed and we wanted to make it bit by bit, and we saw how it came out. And then we put them on the top of it to see the actual load testing. So we felt, yes, this is working. And then finally, when it was assembled, we put that into a chamber for powder coating. It's a method of painting that. And then finally it was done. We wrapped it papers, and then it was brought into the studio. And then parallelly, we were doing the tabletop. We had a lot of options, but we went ahead for this option of wood. And then we started polishing it. And from a simple wood, how it became so polished and shiny. So that was a moment of exhilaration. And we saw that happening in front of our eyes. We carried ourselves, in fact, and then brought it into the home studio, and the final touch-up was given, and then it was done, and then it was assembled and it was put to use. So that was a great moment of joy. So we, from a simple idea of playfulness of certain objects, can give you a certain tangible results just by design thinking and experimenting with them. And we took care of a lot of smaller details like raceways, etc., so that everything is hidden, and the pockets created, we are using that as a bag space, etc. And this is the kind of final thing what we are using for. So this table is 8 feet long by 2 feet wide. Like that, we have 2 tables with different configurations. We can arrange them to make a meeting table, conference room, or working table for 3 or 6 or etc. So that gave us enormous amount of flexibility and joy. And the story it tells is valueless. We just can't put a tangible value to this. So we know what it has gone through, and there is a lot of story to tell. We started with this, and then constantly improvising on that, and then going back to the root and comparing. Okay, we started like it looked quite nice. So we work on these tables now. So this is our studio, the home studio. And we carried forward that idea of the structural system into another competition we were working on as a public building. And we kind of extrapolated that and created a public library on top of a very busy road junction in a busy neighborhood. So we were just experimenting, and this was the part of that competition for Bauhaus in Germany, and we won that competition. So this was, we call this a book room, which is elevated from the road and connected with a bus stop. And the bus stop behaves like an art room. And while you are waiting for your bus, you can engage with a lot of art forms. So these art forms are derived out of 30 odd different folk art forms of India. We studied all of them and put them together in that as an abstraction. And this is the plan how it looks. So the painting form on the road. So we derived from Worli and water paintings, and so they are like a 2D painting on the road. And when the light falls on that in the night, it becomes like a 3D. So when you are approaching in your car, suddenly you feel like somebody is walking on there, but it's a paint. So we abstracted that, realized what paint we can use, etc. So a lot of engineering went into that, and so this was the panel which we presented, and this was the kind of art forms we studied and boiled down which one to take, which one not to take for this project, and then we put together in a very abstract form, and we got that. And I was just designing my own lettering style. So I'm yet to digitize this. So all caps and small and letters and numbers, etc. So this is how it is. So this is how we were taught in architecture school. You draw 3 parallel lines and your text has to be within that. So all of that, my first year knowledge came back now after 25 years, and then coming out in a very different way. So probably someday I will digitize this, and this will become my studio font. So all correspondence I'll be using this design font. So this is sheer love, and I love to sketch also. So wherever I go, site or outing, I do this. And out of that sketch, this design was derived from a hilltop, and we created like a floating lanterns on the hill. So some and one projects, very beautiful landscape, and how to deal with that response to outdoor. And I am quite interested to see the initial reaction of thoughts when I put down on the paper as a sketch format. From there, how do I develop the design? And then from the sketch perspective, how it slowly develops and derives into a certain design form and space making and place making. So that's another field of interest, what I have been honing for many years now. So we have been involved in multiple levels of scale of different projects. So all our explorations and the continuous effort is to put certain kind of untouched ideas into the design which we have not seen before, and if that can be realized, then how nice it would be. So that's a constant effort we are invested in. So this was one such idea which were selected among many different ideas, and this went to London Design Biennale last year, where it was exhibited for 1 month in Somerset Hall. And this was basically a co-living space for young adults or professionals who just came into a new city, in a neighborhood, just starting their career, etc., and then how nicely they can live. And this kind of questioned the whole idea of how do we live. So there is a quotient of psychology involved in that. So that's a continuous process of research what we undertake about each and everything that we do. So this is one reflection of that, and that happened in this form where we were experimenting and living with many other individuals which are not known to us for a certain time frame, and then how it shapes up our life or how it can influence our life. So we created a city room, how that brings people together, and you live together, you kind of work together, you kind of co-create, and then everything becomes very collaborative, which is kind of diminishing from our society and life. But there is a huge potential of being together physically and virtually both to have a certain set of knowledge sharing and build on it. So that was one idea which were there, and the similar idea was published in a book, which gave us a lot of joy and pleasure again. So they are published, and we are happy that people are flipping through them. That's a pleasure. We are invested in a lot of socially relevant projects through our foundation. So trying and investigate how we can make life better. because everybody deserves a better life. So whether outdoor or indoor, how do we create a difference in a very minimalistic way? Need not to be a very grand all the time to everyone's capability and capacity. So how do we enhance that? And probably the success lies over there. So taking everybody along and push them up in the ladder and see how collectively and strongly we can negotiate that and create a certain value addition to everyone's life. So this is what we have been involved in. Purposefully, I have not kept any flashy ocular-centric representation here. If you want certain more detailed information, please visit this. I call this my digital diary, where note of everything, so you can get a glimpse there. Now, to sum this up, to my mind, we all start certain things with a certain awareness, and that awareness brings in certain level of consciousness, and that consciousness gets some level of sensitivities towards certain issues. And once that is established, we actually can ideate, and the ideation can form a certain structure, and then we go on for execution, whatever it may be. And then once that is executed, we need to evaluate. So through a certain benchmarking, we need to evaluate. And once that evaluation happens, and if we do these steps correctly and build on it properly, a happiness comes in. And is that all? No. So once the happiness comes in, there has to be a satisfaction at different levels. So this is an ongoing process. And probably after satisfaction, we need to evolve. So the evolution comes after that. So it's a very cyclic process. And this is a backbone of that. How do you do it? But there is a higher goal for that. And even before that, there is a foundation for that. So this is how I structure and I share with others. So you have a foundation to build on to jump to your higher level, and you evolve. And once that evolution happens, the magic happens. But it all starts with the awareness. How aware are we? So the awareness starts with sharing. The awareness starts with questioning. The questioning starts with the right kind of questioning, because the right kind of questioning will lead you to the right kind of answer, which will lead you to the level of evolution. And once that evolution happens, probably the success happens. So that's my ladder of thinking. So we look at this horizon every day and night, and it keeps changing. Sometimes it's misty, sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's very, very clear, sometimes it feels very near, sometimes it feels very, very far. So we look at that, and at the same time, we look at this ground, and we try to root ourselves as deeper as possible. And that's our grounding. And we look at both at the horizon and at the root, and we constantly stretch ourselves between these two lines. And once that stretch happens, perhaps the success is lying somewhere in between these two. So that's my understanding. Everyone must have their own understanding. That's the key factor. So I wish you all a very, very successful career wherever you are, regardless. And thank you very much for this nice morning. Thank you very much.
Suman, it was a wonderful journey that you have showcased here, and I hope you have patented the table. Because that is a very creative work that you have done, and it's so much of effort that has been went into that, isn't it? So I think you should, architects can create,
Thank you.
isn't it? I'm very, very happy about the way you have talked about your journey as an architect and as a human being. And And we have been doing webinars for a long time, but this is one exceptional webinar that has participated. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think all those who were here, no, they would have learned so many things and very eager to hear from them. Yes, Sigda, you can ask everyone about their questions if they have any questions, and they can interact with Suman or anyone that we are here. All right, myself, yourself, or Kanaka. All right, yeah.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring thoughts and such a eye-catching presentation it was. Like I was completely drawn towards this, and not only me, everyone were drawn towards your presentation and how you have described the journey of success, like your perception of success in terms of love, light, and power, and then all your projects from a small scale during the COVID, how you set up that home studio, then after jumping into a large scale, and then more of a urban oasis, and then especially I was very much mesmerized and by the triangular scale, how you the two triangular scales, and it got that how you analyzed in the critical manner, and all those load bearing support, everything was being examined, and it resulted in a amazing furniture format, a multifunctional, and this was very inspiring. And I was actually very much drawn towards each of the slides, and everything were how it got that small scale of sketch also got converted into a design competition. So congratulations, sir, for that as well. And everything was very much informative. So thank you so much, sir. And now it's time for the question answer session. So I request all the attendees to clarify their queries by unmuting themselves, or you can even ask the questions in the chat box. So feel free to ask all the question answer, and let's have a discussion.
Yeah, I want everyone to switch on their videos also, so that we can document this webinar. And definitely, I would love if someone is asking questions to Suman about his work and his passion to teach. It has been a revelation here for the last 1 hour. Yeah. Any of the students? Yeah, Shusti, Sharanya, Shrikant, Aditya, Chandrika. Yeah, don't feel shy, right? Don't worry about what we are, all right? Whether it is Director, School of Architecture, or Suman Paul, Senior Architect, or Associate Professors, don't worry about that, all right? So we all here want to help you out in understanding you architecture better, all right? So don't worry about us. Shoot any question you want. Yes, Sigda, you're on mute. Okay.
Yes, actually, before I wanted to raise my hand. So, sir, actually, it's not exactly a question, but I wanted to know, like, for example, like I come from an interior architecture background, but we also have this, like, when we were doing this, I was doing this master's course. So initially, we didn't have that perception what is actually interior architecture all about. But also, we in each semester we started learning from a very enclosed space to a public place, like we studied about interior urbanism, and how even the immediate boundary, like the extensional outsideness or the insideness, are being treated as a, like the thresholds and all the liminal spaces. which is also being considered as a part of a interior space. So I wanted to know what is your like, as you were saying now, we have this term now, like how to make a space a place making and all that. So I wanted to know what is your thought about this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd like to give an example. I was fortunate to stay one day in Jeffrey Bawa's house in Sri Lanka, and that was a revelation. And I went through his rooms from room to room, the whole house. We were staying as a guest, and the foundation people were around to show us and tell us all the stories. So how he would go on and design something was something fascinating. He would go to site, and he was a tall man, and he would look at a railing prototype, for example, for a staircase or balcony or whatever. And the tall man, so he felt that the standard size what normally people give is little low for him. So he said, no, this is not correct. So you raise it by another 50 mm. So for him, it was like the scale of his own body, not about the standard which is written in the book. And that is how he could create those magical spaces in all his projects. So he went by the measure of his own body as a unit and then derived out of it. So whether it is a table or chair, the size of his living room, or size of even a courtyard. And not only that, he was so sensitive, he even designed the water bodies in the courtyard. And he didn't stop there. He designed a small sprout above the water body for the water to come out and drop by drop on the water body. And he didn't stop there even. So he went at the back of that tap or the gargoyle, and he put a valve so that he could control the speed of the water and the quantum of water which would come out and drop on the water body, which would create a certain kind of sound which he prefers when he's sitting next to it. So that was his level of designing a space. And that is not only for interior, that's valid for all his great projects. And I feel there is nothing called interior design. There is nothing called landscape design. There is nothing called construction. We cannot separate them out. It's part of the whole one discipline. And we cannot design a building without having a knowledge or understanding or feeling of an interior space, because all are part of that entire thing. So I think it's all come together. When we are designing a landscape courtyard, it's part of the design. When we are designing a table or a chair, it's all about that comfort in that particular space, which has to be coming from within, and it has to be integrated as a whole. We just cannot see as different disciplines or verticals in design. So that is what is my whole understanding, which drives me towards the way I practice. Just collapse all those verticals and create a larger discipline of design, and then you see how beautiful it is. And recently, one of my colleague in the fraternity was talking about certain painting, and he said that more than the painting itself is beautiful, the sketch, but more than that, the frame which is holding that painting is more beautiful than that. So that is crafted with cross-fingered frames. So he showed in detail that how two wooden members are coming and creating a certain joinery, and how neatly they are finished. So maybe not for a common man, but who has an eye would appreciate that even more than the painting. So it all depends on at which level you go at, and what's the intention is, and what's the kind of involvement you want to have. So I think it's a very retrospective and introspective at the same time. So we need to answer this to ourselves. what is the level of engagement and involvement, and what is the level of kind of finesse we want to get out of that. So perhaps that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Kanaka, any questions on the chat?
Yeah, hi Suman. It was a really wonderful session, Suman. I think I have worked with you for many years, but I learned passion with architecture, passion in architecture. You rightly said design is cannot be separated. That the interior, exterior, landscape, it's there everywhere. That I can see you from designing even your helmet, your shoes. I have seen. So, okay. One message from your career, from message that I can talk to the students, that you need to be more passionate in when you're deciding to be, decide your career as an architecture. Okay, when you are really willing to join architecture, you need to be more passionate and involved, committed, be patient to solve the problems. I can see you when I was working with you in many projects. Okay. And Yashoda, that definitely is, it was possible with you only when we were dealing with that kind of clients, I'm sure. And with the very good result, I have crossed through this, building very recently, about a month back. So really, you achieved it. I can say it is an achievement to complete that kind of project. Okay, and the table and your word called practicing, I really like it. Practice and you teach. So very good, and thanks a lot. Very new insights I came to know from it. New, okay. So thanks a lot. Thanks for your knowledge sharing also.
Thank you.
Students,
Yes.
if any kind of small or big doubts, don't hesitate to talk. And because architecture field is kind of passionate field, it's mix of science, engineering, so many different kind of fields. Okay, so any kind of doubts, please talk to Mr. Architect Suman, or our director Mr. Sunil sir is there. Even anything about Geetam or anything about architecture also, we all are mostly are practicing architects. We are into teaching or we are into practice. Okay, so students, any doubts, please talk to us, leave a message.
Yes, Suman, actually, I would love to see your practicing in your font.
Oh yeah.
The font is very subtle and very beautiful. So I
Correct,
would
Suman.
like to
Excellent.
practicing in that font. Definitely, it would be very unique.
Okay, we'll try.
Are you trying for what do you call registration? Just
Patent.
Yeah, yeah.
for that font.
Yes. I'm trying to digitize it, and then we can use it for any platform, any software.
Yeah.
I think you are never idle with anything, Suman. Either you are doing projects, you are doing teaching, you are doing so many passionate things.
Teaching.
Excellent. Very inspiring, Suman. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
I think students, we can understand what is the life of an architect, how you can enjoy your life, and the rightly said, the success, it depends on the individual. It depends. It's not like only whether you can be celebrity, whether you can award winner, anything. But when you like your work, then definitely success. You love your work.
Yeah.
It's a great definition to students and even for us also.
For us also.
Anybody, any aspirants that you would like, leave a message. If you willing to hesitate to talk, leave a message. So we'll respond about architecture, our career, or anything about Geetam. Okay.
Hi, Suman. It was a nice presentation. Thank you for it. What I understand, it was bit a next level presentation for a fresh aspirant to join. But let me try to connect them in Telugu. Maybe that connect may be established, like architecture was bit graduated level for them to understand. So students make andarki చూశారు కదా presentation. It కొంచెము ప్రెజెంటేషన్ ఏంటంటే కొంచెం ఒక్క లెవెల్ ఎక్కువ, బట్ ఓవరాల్ ద మారల్ ఏంటి అంటే if you love your work అంటే మీరు if you are taking up architecture as a profession, architecture ఒక ప్రొఫెషన్ లా అనుకుంటే then మీకు కష్టం అంటూ ఏది అనిపించదు. That's the best thing in it. If you love what he was trying to say is like if you love your profession you will get that. So మీకు ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ ఇష్టం ఉంది అంటే you will never get tired, and ప్రతి స్లైడ్ it's not so easy to put in front of you. You might have worked ఎన్నో అవర్స్ వర్క్ చేస్తే మీ ముందు ఆ స్లైడ్ వచ్చింది. సో ఆ కష్టం మీకు తెలియదు, బట్ వాట్ హీ హాస్ మెంట్ ఇస్ లాస్ట్ ఇస్ సాటిస్ఫాక్షన్. ఆ సాటిస్ఫాక్షన్ మనసు ఎట్లా అంటే తృప్తి అంటారు కదా. ఇఫ్ యూ లవ్ సమ్ వర్క్ దెన్ యూ వుడ్ రీచ్ టు దాట్ స్టేజ్ అన్నట్టు. మీకు చేసే పని ఇష్టం ఉంటే మీకు ఆ సాటిస్ఫాక్షన్ ఆర్ తృప్తి అనేది కూడా వస్తుంది. సో అలా మీకేమైనా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉంటే, ఏదైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటే మీరు అడగొచ్చు. తెలుగులో అయినా పర్లేదు, హిందీలో అయినా పర్లేదు. మేము మీకు ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ నాలెడ్జ్ గురించి టెస్ట్ చేయట్లేదు, మాకు వచ్చింది మీకు చెప్పట్లేదు. మీకు ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉంటే మీరు ఏ క్వశ్చన్ అడగొచ్చు. we would love and we want to answer your questions.
Yeah, one small answer for Sushri. Sushri, it is very easy how to apply GSoA. All right, you have to just go to the website, and then the whole process is very easy. You have to register and then take an admission. All right,
And you can sorry. You can leave your email, Srushti, here. We'll send you. You can also leave your email and mobile number here.
Contact number, we will call you back
We'll
also.
connect you with the right approach also. Okay.
Very
One
simple.
thing is you can go to online. Another, you can leave a mobile and this email ID also. Both the things you can do it here.
One thing is definitely you have to qualify in NATA. That is for everyone in India. You have to qualify in NATA for getting an admission. That's it. All right, good. Someone yeah, I will request Kanakanageshwar sir. He will contact you and you can, he will be able to guide you. Okay. Right then, Vidya, we will give vote of thanks to Suman.
Yes. So now we will move forward. I may now request our admission coordinator, Associate Professor Architect Kanakanageshwar Rao, sir, to conclude with a vote of thanks. So looking forward to you, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, respected Professor Sunil Kumar Ji sir, and our most valued today's invited guest, Architect Suman Paul sir, my architecture department colleagues and university fraternity. Finally, all our webinar attended dignitaries and BARC aspirants. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose this vote of thanks. Architect Suman Paul's presentation and his journey proves that there is no boundaries for creative professionals in architecture. Sunil sir's detailed presentation of what a student will go through here in GSoA or in BARC course gives the attendees a great reason to choose Bachelor of Architecture at GSoA as a decent path to build their careers. On behalf of GSoA School of Architecture, Hyderabad, and the entire GSoA deemed to be university fraternity here together, and on my own behalf, I express a heartfelt thanks to today's guest speaker, Architect Suman Paul sir, for gracing your important works and sharing today with your excellent journey in successful career in architecture profession. I thank all attendees for the valuable time to spare with us to discussing this important phase of students' decision in making and choosing the right way ahead in BARC 5 years professional course admissions. It's great to meet you all through GSoA School of Architecture, Hyderabad webinar series 2022. It's a great pleasure to share the required information proactively to all BARC aspirants on right time with this webinar. Finally, I request every BARC aspirant and their parents, please visit our websites, GSoA School of Architecture, Hyderabad, to check the BARC course details and syllabus along with other information of our school, faculty, labs and library infrastructure, etc., along with overall campus level facilities and infrastructure too. Feel free to reach us for any further queries. We have shared Google form for you to give your feedback and take our contacts and share your contacts in the Google Sheets. Thank you very much, Architect Kanakanageshwar Rao, RRP.
Thank you. Thank you, Suman, once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suman.
It was wonderful to be with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Kanaka sir. So further, as a token of information, GSoA School of Architecture, Hyderabad has, there are many webinars scheduled till October 2022. So we will update you about all the webinars through our social media platforms in Instagram, Facebook page, and also LinkedIn profile. So now I request you, please do attend this upcoming webinars so that you can have a broad spectrum of knowledge from other eminent speakers also. And I would like to express my appreciation to all the participants and their parents for taking out their time from their busy schedules. And now on behalf of GSoA School of Architecture, I would like to close my remarks and officially announce the end of the webinar. Wishing you all the prosperity, future prosperity of all the participating students. And I further extend my gratitude to our esteemed speakers for today and faculties of School of Architecture, Hyderabad. Thank you for your attention. Stay safe and healthy. Signing off. This is your today's host, Architect Snigdha Roy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Snigdha. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Suman.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Bye.